it's Lisa Van Gammert from Vocabulary Luau, and I am so excited to share with you some of the great vocabulary resources that the Library of Congress has for teachers. So everything I'm going to show you is free, which makes it awesome, right? And everything I'm going to talk about, I'm going to link directly to it in the description box below, because when you go to the Library of Congress website and you go directly to where they have their information for teachers, it's a lot, and they've recently changed it, and I have a feeling that they're going to have to change it again. It's a little confusing. So everything I talk about, I will give you a direct link to. So I've got 5 things I want to show you. And the first one is this Braille activity sheet that they have. So this is a printable 4-page, you print it on 11 by 17 inch paper, 4-page booklet essentially that students can make that teaches Braille. And it has the alphabet, it has some numbers, and there are some activities that kids can do to practice a little bit. What I like to do is to have my students have access to this, where they see all of this, and then take their vocabulary words and write them in Braille. The thing I like about that is not only does it teach them a little bit about diversity and inclusivity, it also is almost like a secret code, and it gives something a little bit more fun to work with than simply writing your word 5 times or something like that, or just basically using it in a sentence. So I may have them use it in a sentence, but when they write the word, I have them write it in Braille. It forces them to slow down, and that slowness is nice. I will sometimes have them write a vocabulary word in Braille and trade with another kid, and then that student decodes the word, and it's a way to keep the vocabulary words front of mind. So this is just a one-time download you get, and then you can use forever, right? The next thing is Today in History. This is a beautiful combination of vocabulary as well as history and culture. So I'm recording this on September 30th, and so when I look at it, I see what happened in history on that day. Now, very frequently, and it is the case today, there's more than one thing. So one ended and now we have another one. And for each thing, they have not only text, they have excerpts from primary source documents. They often have really interesting images, and then they have an extension opportunity. So I actually use this frequently for differentiation for gifted learners, but as a vocabulary activity, here's what I do. I will have them sometimes find parts of speech. I will have them sometimes replace or add words, because this is a Library of Congress site and they're writing in a somewhat technical way, there aren't a lot of adjectives and adverbs, and so sometimes I will have students add our vocabulary words that are adjectives and adverbs in to give a little flavor to the writing. I sometimes will have them replace words as well. So let me give you an example of that. There are, as I mentioned, excerpts from primary source documents, and a lot of these are older, and so they have archaic or unusual words. And so look at this word, extirpated. I guarantee you most of my students have never heard that word. And so it gives us an opportunity to explore in an authentic source, in an original source, what a vocabulary word looked like then, and what might we substitute that with now. We also try to identify any words that we don't know. So that's how I use Today in History, and I really enjoy it. I don't use this all the time. It's something I would use probably 5 or 6 times a year. The third thing I want to share is actually my favorite. So I put the favorite in the middle. I didn't save the best for last or even start with it. I put it right smack dab here in the middle. Chronicling America is housed on the Library of Congress website. It is a joint venture between the Library of Congress and the National Endowment for the Humanities. What they've done is archive the images of newspapers since 1789 up until 1963. And you can search by date. You can search by state. So if you're from Florida, maybe you want to look for only Florida papers, right? And you can enter in search terms. So let's say our vocabulary word is egregious, one of my favorite words. And so I'm looking for in Florida papers for the word egregious. I click go, and now it's going to give me, it gave me 74 results here. And so I can click on any of these and see the word in its authentic use in its original use in a primary source document. And what's fun about this is that we can search for the examples of the word in a way it was written. So how did they use this? I want you to know I'm being an egregious idiot. Perhaps you will be somewhat at sea as to the meaning of egregious, but I assure you it's the very worst kind of idiot. What a beautiful example of egregious, which means exceedingly bad, right? And then it lets my kids say, what is this? Like, what is this? And it is a story, right? So we can discuss the use of the word. Does it mean the same thing then that it did or that it does now? And it's just really fun. This is one of my favorite activities because I feel like when the students are working with Chronicling America, then they're doing and developing research. They're developing a research skill. And they also get a sense for where they live and some of the interesting things going along with their life now, their current life. So just like you can select by state, if you click on advanced search, you can also search for a specific newspaper. So I can choose this newspaper and I can choose a specific date range, not just years, but any dates. And I can also do combinations of words. So all of that is available to you in the advanced search. So that's my favorite, Chronicling America. Now let's look at the last two, and they're nothing to sneeze at either. This one is, the library calls this free to use and reuse sets, which I think is kind of an odd title, but it's got great stuff. So what these are, and you have to be careful because it isn't just this one image. These are all visual placeholders. So these are all images of tennis, right? So when you click on that one tennis image, it will take you to all of these tennis images. So all of these are sets of images. So what I like to do in this section is I like to choose something and then have students analyze the picture looking at it through the lens of our vocabulary word. So for example, let me choose this one. Okay, so this is a Rheinschloss Stolzenfels mit Kapellen, which is German. The Rhine is the river, Schloss is castle. This is the name of the castle, and this is the word with. And then I don't even know what this is, but I think it's these little things at the top. So there's a great example of vocabulary, right? So if I have my vocabulary word here, I could say, all right, kids, what in this picture is abundant? And they would look for things and identify, like, so what is abundant here? Well, we've got like shrubbery is abundant, or trees. Water is abundant. Stone is abundant. What is scarce? And then let them look carefully at the picture and look for something that is scarce. What is something that is subtle? What is something that is? And I give them our vocabulary words, and it doesn't even matter what the vocabulary word is. We can apply it to any picture. Now, some are easier to use than others. So this is a picture from the Toledo Cathedral. And so, of course, there are many smaller things in here, and that gives the kids more to look at. But I haven't found any pictures in these sets that I haven't been able to use with almost any set of vocabulary words. So there's the Taj Mahal, right? They have all kinds of interesting ones. Some of my favorite sets to use to look for vocabulary include not just those travel pictures, but these maps of cities. And then there is, let me scroll down. They move around, so you can't always find it in the same place. But they have these posters, this poster parade, and then they also have travel posters that are fine. There they are. The travel posters are also a favorite. And you can use these 19th century portraits. I like them, but I haven't found them to be quite as flexible. So you just have to choose. This Roadside America is a good one also as well, actually. So Roadside America gives you some good ones, right? One in this is the most unique, right? You can think so many different words. So also all of these images are free to use. So if you find any of these images that you want to use in any other way, you are welcome to. Now, in the free to use and reuse, there is this is like idea 4.1, is that this one, which I don't think they've chosen the best image for, but these are classic children's books. If you click on that, it takes you to this page, and you will see all of these classic children's books. You can click on them. So like, let's choose Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book. And you get not just the images from the book, you get the actual scans, very high quality scans of the book. And you can go to any page that you want. So I can click in any page number and go right to it. And you can also just scroll through if you like. But now what I can do is have students looking at the page, and I can do any of the same vocabulary activities I've done with any of the other things. I can have them look for certain words. I can have them look for antonyms or synonyms. I can have them look for places where vocabulary words that we've been working with could go. Like where could we substitute a vocabulary word? Where could we add in a quality vocabulary word? And there's something about looking at it in this way, and you can print these out if you like. I usually, for this one, just pull it up on the screen and we all do it together. If you are doing distance learning, all of these activities are obviously available online, and that makes it great as well. So my fifth and last idea for you is Poetry 180. So Poetry 180 is a wonderful place to find great words, and it also is another place for us to use synonyms and antonyms of our vocabulary words. So Poetry 180 was created by the library by Billy Collins when he was the Poet Laureate of the United States, and it's been almost 20 years, which is hard to believe because I remember it clearly. But you can click on the list of 180 poems. The reason for 180 is that essentially one for every day of the school year. And what I like about Collins's collection here is that they're not the most common ones. A lot of these are poems that your students will not be familiar with, but that resonate with them. They've been particularly chosen to be good for use with students. And so they're pretty approachable. And what I like to do with this is we'll have the students look at the poem and see if there are any places where we feel like we could insert one of our vocabulary words that would be a good addition, or substitute a vocabulary word. We also might look for antonyms and synonyms of words within the poem. So there are lots of ways that I use the Poetry 180 with vocabulary. I can look for poems, I can look through it for poems that have specific words that I want to use or want to introduce kids to, and then the poem gives me an opportunity to share it in an authentic way. So I really like this collection. If you teach poetry, you're going to really like it because it's a fantastic collection of poems that are great with kids, but I love it for the vocabulary use as well. So hopefully you've found some of these ideas from the library interesting. I'm a huge fan of the Library of Congress, and there's lots more for teachers, but these specifically are what I think they have that are wonderful for teaching vocabulary. If you have any questions or ideas, please feel free to share them in the comments below.